All right, good morning, ladies, and welcome back to chapter 5. So let's begin. I noted that the entire area was as rich as the Thames Valley. From every hill I climbed, I saw splendid buildings, thickets of evergreens, and trees laden with fruits. The water shone like silver, and in the distance the land rose into blue hills that faded into the calm sky. Then some peculiar objects attracted my attention. Certain circular wells that seemed to have great depth. One lay by the path up the hill I had climbed recently. Its rim was made of bronze and a dome protected it from the rain. I peered down to see better, but there seemed to be no water in them. But from all of them came this sound, a thud, 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 like the beating of some big engine. I lit some matches and saw that a steady current of air was going down the shafts. I threw a scrap of paper into one, and at once it was sucked in. I came to the conclusion that the wells were part of an extensive system of underground ventilation, though I had no idea what it was used for. There is a great deal of descriptions about buildings and social systems in the perfect future worlds imagined by some writers. But in one's imagination, it is much easier to grasp these worlds than it is when a real traveler finds himself in the middle of these future realities. Think of what a tribesman from Central Africa would have to say about London to his people. What would he know of railway companies, of social movements, of telephone and telegraph wires, postal orders, and such? How much could he, how much could he make his untraveled friends believe? This is how wide the gap was between me and those of the golden age I was in. So, other than a general impression of their systems, I can convey little else to you. For instance, I could see no signs of cemeteries or anything resembling tombs, but it was possible that the graveyards lay beyond the reach of my explorations. Still, I was puzzled when I remembered that among the little people I had not seen anyone aged or ill. My confidence in my previous theory had weakened, yet I could think of no other. The several big palaces I had explored were mere living places, great dining halls and sleeping apartments. There was no machinery, no appliances of any kind. Yet these people were clothed well, clothes that would need to be replaced with new ones, and there was no considerable metalwork on their sandals. Where were all of these things made? Yet the little people displayed no creative abilities. There were no workshops or imports either. The people spent all of their time playing, bathing in the river, eating fruit, and sleeping. So how were things kept going? Then there was something unknown to me that had taken the time machine inside the pedal of the Sphinx. Why? That day I made a friend. As I was watching some of the little people bathing in a stream, one of them started to have cramps and began drifting downstream. The main current was somewhat strong, but not strong for a moderate swimmer. But these people lacked much physical strength, and the woman's friends made no attempt to rescue her. I quickly slipped off my clothes, and wading in a bit, I caught the poor thing and drew her safe to land. I had a low opinion of these people and expected no gratitude from her. In that, however, I was proved wrong. In the afternoon, I met the little woman again, and she received me with cries of delight and presented me with a big garland of flowers. We were soon seated together, engaged in conversation, though we mostly smiled at each other. Her friendliness was exactly like a child's. I found out her name was Weena, though I didn't know what it meant. That was the beginning of an odd friendship which lasted a week and ended as I will tell you. She wanted to be with me always and tried to follow me everywhere. On my next journey, I wanted to go alone, but she kept calling after me sadly. But the problems of the world had to be mastered. Yet her distress when I left was very great. I think she caused me as much trouble as she gave me comfort. At first, I thought she felt nothing but childish affection for me. But much too late, I understood what she really was to me. She merely, but by merely seeming fond of me and showing in her weak ways that she cared for me, the little creature made my return to the White Sphinx feel like I was coming home. And I would watch for her tiny figure of white and gold as soon as I came over the hill. It was from her, too, that I learned that fear had not yet left their world. She was fearless enough in the daylight, but she was scared of the dark, afraid of shadows, dreaded black things. She feared all this with a passionate emotion, and it set me thinking. I remarked then that these little people gathered into the great houses after dark and slept in groups. No one was out of doors, and no one slept alone after dark. Yet, in spite of Weena's distress, I insisted on sleeping away from these groups. It troubled her greatly, but in the end, her affection for me made her sleep with her head on my arm on our last night together. But let me return to the main story. The night before I rescued her, I was awakened around dawn. I had been having nightmares. I woke with a start and a feeling that some animal had just rushed past. Everything around me was still gray. I went outside the palace to watch the sunrise. In the dying moonlight, everything looked a bit ghastly. The bushes were inky black, the sky colorless and cheerless. And up the hill, I thought I could see white figures like ghosts. Twice I thought I saw a white ape-like creature running up the hill, and once I saw a few of them carrying some dark body. Then they vanished among the bushes. The dawn made everything blurry, and I was still feeling some early morning uncertainty. I doubted my eyes. As the sky grew brighter, I studied the view carefully, but no white figures were around. I told myself they must have been ghosts. This was an unpleasant thought that disturbed me all morning, till Weena's rescue drove them out of my mind. After that, I decided they were similar to the animal I had startled during my search for the time machine. I don't know if I have mentioned about the weather at that time. It was much hotter than any weather we have experienced. Either the earth had moved closer to the sun, or the sun itself had gotten very much warmer. One thing, one such very hot morning, the 4th, I think, as I was looking to hide from the sun and its glare, a strange thing happened. Making my way through the broken heaps of stones, I found a narrow gallery. Its windows were blocked by the stones, and inside it was completely dark. My eyes were still adjusting to the darkness when suddenly I saw a pair of glowing eyes. My fear of wild animals was upon me, and just a while ago I had thought that humanity was living in complete security. Overcome, overcoming my fear to some extent, I advanced a step and spoke. I put out my hand and touched something soft. At once my eyes moved and something white ran past me. A peculiar little ape-like figure, its head held down, ran across a little sunlit area. It stumbled against some granite and in a moment was hidden in the black shadows. Okay, we are going to stop here for today. I'll see you ladies tomorrow.